Amanda here. Thanks so much for joining me. So I'm going to be doing a video about these little mini books. Now, it may be useful to everybody, but primarily it is aimed at those people that have bought this little mini book digital kit. So I'm just going to quickly show you what I've made. These. I'm going to quickly go through how to construct the covers, and then I'm going to share 3 different ways of making these books. One is the long way, one is the quick way, and one is the cheap way. But my books, these, you can use them as little charms, put a little dangle on, use them as charms. I'm actually going to be making some sort of bookshelf to make like a little mini library with mine. So if you want to follow along, make sure you hit the subscription button, and on the notification bell, click that and select all. Then you will see all of my uploads and you won't miss any. So let's talk about these little books. So they're all different and they're all different sizes. So what I'm going to have to do is tell you the concept of how to do it, and then you're going to have to do it depending on the measurement of each book. They're all the same height, but they're not all the same width. Some are bigger. Okay, that's because these are genuine copies of genuine vintage books, and obviously they're all different sizes. So I've gone for a 2-inch height on these, so they're a little bit easier to handle and make if you've got, you know, dexterity problems, or if you just don't like fiddly things. These are a nice size because they're still small, but they're not tiny like one that I made previously. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about making the covers. So if you can join along with this using your own supplies. You don't have to have my kit. If you'd like it, the link to my shop's in the description box below. So when the kit comes, the books are all, let me just see if I've got a sheet to hand. So they're all like sewn. Okay, so you need to fussy cut them, and then you need to, if you so desire, ink the edges so you don't see the white core of the paper. Okay, and then how I've done mine, if I just show you one here. So this one, all I've done is then layered the image on some black cardstock or craft card or whatever. Now I've left a little tiny border on mine. You don't have to, you can cut right up to the image so it's exactly the same size. I just liked the idea of a little border to just accentuate the book ever so slightly. Okay, so that's one method, is to just layer it on cardstock. And then what you do is you get either a ruler and a scoring tool, or if you've got a scoreboard like I have, what I do is, oops, I'm banging the camera. I'll put it into the scoreboard up to the 6-inch mark, okay, and I'll get the smallest end of my ball tool, and I'll line it up with the edge of the spine there with the 6 mark. Then press firmly. Okay, if you've lined it on cardstock, it shouldn't tear or anything, and make a score. Then move the other side of the spine to the 6-inch mark. Okay, line up your tool, line it up the best you can. If it's not perfect, don't worry, it doesn't matter. These are meant to look like old books, so they're meant to look a little bit non-perfect anyway. So then you've got a nice score. Okay, now I did one where I rounded the corners with a little corner rounder, and I didn't like it because it wasn't in proportion, so I wouldn't advise that. If you want a bit more of a rounded edge rather than a straight pokey angular edge, get yourself a nail file and just take the sharpness of the corner off to get your rounded effect. Okay, then all you have to do is fold those score lines. Okay, it shouldn't split because it's paper. Okay, make sure that your paper is fully dry before you do any kind of scoring or folding, otherwise you might rip the paper if it's still wet. So make sure it's fully dry, and you know, there's your cover. And what I did was I cut all of my book images out, then I backed them all, then I cut all of them out, and then I scored them all and made all of the little covers. So here are some others that I've got to do. Okay, so if you do things in stages, then you are more productive. Now another way that you can do it, and I did it with, did I do it with this one? I think it was this one I did it with. You can do it like a traditional mini album where you've got some thin cardstock. I used a cereal box. I then lined it with you know, wrapped it like you would an album cover. You know, I made a little spine and then I made the covers, and then I laid it on black cardstock, cut out, leaving 1/2 inch, and wrapped it like you would wrap a mini album. And it works, and it's nice, and it makes for a nice sturdy one with nice thick edges. However, it's more time consuming that way. If you do it this way, it's quicker. So another thing you can do is then go in with some gilding polish or gilding wax or metal coloured acrylic paint, and you can just dab a little bit on the spines and around the top to get a gilded kind of a look, because some old books are gilded. Okay, I don't know if you can just see that slight shine there. So that is how you make the covers. Okay, so now I'm going to get my supplies ready, and we're going to make the, I think we'll do the complicated version first. Okay, then we'll move on to the easier, and then the very last one will be the cheat way. So get comfy and let's get creating. Okay, so the first version we're going to do is the difficult version. Now, this is going to give you a real, genuinely authentic looking book with lots of individual tiny little pages. Okay, each one of these is a tiny little page in its own right that you could even write on if you so desired. Now, these books are not designed to have heavy decoration in them. We're going to be filling the spine with pages, so you're not going to get a lot of opportunity to decorate, add tags, add pockets, that kind of thing. That's not what these are for. These are, as I say, either as charms or we're going to make a little library. So this one is the one that takes the most time. It is rather fun. So all you need to do, and you need to pick the images. As I say, all the images are different sizes because books by nature are different sizes. So for this method, you want one with quite a deep spine. Okay, this one's got quite a deep spine. This is Birds and Their Nests by Mary Howitt. Okay, so what you want to do is, when you've got your cover constructed, you want to open the cover and you want to measure from the score line there to the outside cover. Okay, so I'm putting my ruler on the score line, and this is about just shy of 1.5 inches. Now, I know from experience that when you put loads of pages together, they kind of grow. I don't want them protruding out. I don't want to have to start thinking I need to trim anything. So I'm just going to go ever so slightly less. So I'm just going to go 1/8 of an inch down. Also, you need a little bit of room at the back for your glue. Not that it's bulky, but you'd be surprised how it makes a difference. So I'm going to go to 1 3/8. And now I know my books are all typically 2 inches. So I'm going to go I'm going to get 2 sheets of copy paper. This is just standard copy paper. And I'm going to cut it to just under 2. Not very much, literally, not even an 1/8, not even a 1/16, sorry. Just under 2, just to give me a little bit of leeway so it's not protruding top and bottom. Okay, and I'll cut several strips at 2 inches. Then I'll turn them and I'll cut them into individual pages at 1 3/8, and this is the longest part of making it. So that's just under 1.5, isn't it? Yeah, so that's the 1/8 mark under 1.5. Let me just check. Yeah, okay. Alright, so you literally just keep cutting those pages until you've got a pile. It's a long way of doing it, but like I say, you are getting true individual pages, and it's something you can do whilst you sat, you know, on an evening or whenever you craft. And you can have your computer playing or your music playing or your podcast, and although it's time consuming, it's not difficult crafting. So any level of crafter can make these. You know, it is simple, very, very easy. So you literally just keep on and then put your pages together. Okay, and you will continue to cut from your 2 sheets of paper until you have got a bundle that is wide enough, the same width as your spine. Okay, so I'll continue cutting them and then I'll show you what we're going to do next, and I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so in no time at all, you'll have a bundle of pages, okay? And you'll see that it just fits just inside the spine, okay? You can just see that that bundle fits between the two score marks. Now, it doesn't take a long time at all. I time myself, it takes minutes. And the only time consuming bit is if you decide to do this method for, say, 20 books. Because they're all different sizes, so it's not like you can cut them all ahead of time. Right, so then what you want to do is tap them on the table and get them all as level as you can. Now, you may not get them perfect, it really doesn't matter. And then you want to grab some clippers. I've got one sheet that's protruding a little bit more than the others there. Okay, get them the best that you can. Don't worry if they're not perfect. It really doesn't matter because they're going to fit within the cover and they're going to look fabulous. It's going to look fabulous when it's done. So don't think, oh, that's no good. Every single page is not lined up. They're not all perfect. It's not meant to be. It's a mini book and you're not going to get perfection because we're not making them on a machine. We're making them by hand. Okay. So then what you want to do is clip them at the side. Okay. Like so. Now what you want to do is you want to put glue along the edge of the pages on one side. So I'm just using Collal. Now I've done these years ago. I used PVA, that worked. If you want really fast results, you can use hot glue but smooth it out, or you don't want it lumpy because it won't look nice and it won't fit in your spine. Okay, and you just want to put a layer of glue, quite a lot, over that spine. Okay, and spread it out so that you've got a thin layer of glue all covering the edge of those pages. Okay, now glue by nature will glue kind of like a plasticky layer. Okay, and so when you've left that to dry, you're gonna have those pages are gonna be bound together. Okay. So then what you need to do, and this is the bit where you have to be patient, you have to set that aside to dry whilst you get on with the next book. Okay, so I will probably show you how to bind this at the end, or I'll do some cutting and pasting with my video and add it onto here, we'll see. But that needs setting aside and it needs to dry so that that gluey layer there is not tacky. You want it perfectly dry, and then you know your pages are all adhered. So I'm going to set that aside and I'm going to get on with my next task. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is the concertina method. Now I have shown this before when I made the Floral Grace mini book, so you can refer back to that if you like, but those pages were already made for the people that downloaded that. Here I'm going to show you how to do it, and I'm going to show you the technique so that you can make it no matter what size your little book is. As I've said previously, they're all different sizes, so you'll have to measure each book and make the pages to fit each book. You can't just go make a pile of pages and hope they'll fit every single book, because they won't. So again, I know it's about 2 inches high because I've done them all the same. So again, I'm measuring from the spine to the outside edge, and this one is 1.5 inches. In fact, it's just under, yeah, it's about, yeah, it's 1.5. We're going to go with 1.5 on this. So I know my strips need to be just under 2. Okay, so I've cut several strips. Now this page is in with the kit. It's like a mottled kind of mouldy book page. So you print that out and you cut the full, just cut the white border off, and then just cut on the short side. So on the A4, cut on the short side, just under 2-inch strips. Okay, and then if you've got one of these doofers, it's going to make your life a lot easier. If not, do it with a ruler and a pencil. Mark 1.5 inches all the way, or you're going to need at least 2. And so we're going to do it here. I'm going to do it with you. So 1.5. Okay, plus 1.5 is 3. Okay, now some of the books end up where you're doing 1/8 of an inch. So all I do is, you know, I will literally count these. Okay, I don't try and add it up. I literally count them if I'm getting stuck, because I'm not good at adding up fractions. You can use a calculator, but it's quite straightforward. You'll figure it out once you've done one. Right, so 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6, 7.5, 9, 9.5. Okay, now your end piece might not be a full size, but that's fine because you can use that as your joining page. Okay, so I'm going to do another. So 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6, 7.5, 9, and 10.5. Okay. So your next step, and I do advise it because it does give a nicer finish, but it's not essential, is to ink. Okay, ink all the way around the edges. It just gives you a more authentic, vintage, old look. Okay, if you don't have, I'm using vintage photo. If you don't have that, you could use any kind of ink. Just make sure you've not got too much ink on whatever you're inking with. Now, I will ink on the back as well, and that's so that when it's folded, there's no white edges showing. It's not essential. You don't have to. I just like things to be finished to the best of my ability. I've got the supplies, I've got the time, so it's no big deal. And I'm going to do this one as well. I'll try and speed it up a bit. Doesn't matter if this one's not perfect. Alright, so then what you want to do, obviously, is you're going to fold them. So you're going to fold them, so your first page is going to adhere to your cover, so fold that in. And then start and just mountain valley fold. When you're folding, you want to make sure that you've got straight folds. It will just make your life easier and it'll make your pages look neater. Okay, and you can tell if you've got straight folds by folding it all back and it'll still line up. Okay, so then that one goes down, that one goes up, that one goes down, etc, etc. Okay, now don't worry if you find that it's going offline like that, lift it up, line it up and crease. Okay, and then we're going to do the next one. You can always fast forward if you don't want to watch me do the whole process, but I like to show everybody absolutely everything from the needle to the thread so that they can come away from this tutorial knowing exactly what they're doing. So then you're going to have you know, you're going to have good results. No point to showing you half a job. Okay, right, now nearly done. Right, so one end is going to need to attach to here to continue the concertina, and one end needs to attach to the book. So if you've got an end on your second one that is a short piece, then that needs to go. Okay, so I'm just going to ink it purely so I can see it because I've got a bright video camera light on. Okay, so I'm cutting that. So your very last piece needs to be a full sheet. And you also need to have a look how the concertina goes. You might even lose one more page. So that's going to attach there. That's all going to fold. That's going to, yep. So that would go that way. So that's no good. So I don't need this page. So I'm going to have to lose that page as well because I need one to glue to the cover of the book. Right, so we're losing that as well. Okay, so now I'm just going to glue these two together. When you glue the sections together, get them as straight as you can, line them up nicely, fold it back and make sure it's not protruding, and make sure it's lined up with the rest of the strip if you was to fold it flat, and then press. Okay, so now you've got your strip. So now what you want to do is, that's going to attach to your cover, so you're not going to glue that. You're going to glue them V's together, them V's, all of the back side of the V's, you're going to glue them together, and that's going to create a page. So you turn the whole thing over, ignore the first one, okay, glue the second one, and attach. Okay, try your best to keep it straight. Don't panic too much, you've always got room. So you're going to see as you start gluing these, they'll kind of go skew with, okay, and not necessarily lined up. Don't worry about that, we'll deal with that at the end after we've done. Just make sure that this page here is even at each end and you've not got white protruding. That's all you need to worry about at this stage. So then hold that out of your way and you glue the second page again. And fold that in. Okay. Remember, we're just concentrating on making sure these two edges on the actual page that we're gluing are lined up. Don't worry about anything else for now, because it will all come together. Okay. So then fold it all back, and now we've got a different second page showing. Attach that. Okay. Find that page, make sure your edges are straight, make sure you've got a nice neat crease, and make sure that you've not got glue splodging everywhere. Then fold it back. Here's your first page that's going to attach to the inside of your book still. So here's a new second page. Glue that. And a deer. That one's not quite lined up, so I'm relining it so that it's straight top and bottom. If needs be, I'll recrease that, but you're just concentrating on those being straight. Okay, fold it back, get your pit, and you've got a new second page. Glue on there. Do the same, fold it back, grab your page. Make sure it's straight top to bottom. Spread that glue out. Okay, fold it back, and again you've got another new second page. Have I done this right? Hold on a minute. I might have to lose another. Am I going to have to lose another page? I've cut a page off I didn't need to cut off. What a wally. I've cut a page off that I didn't need to cut off because those two could have glued together and I could have left that page on. Okay, but I've just miscalculated. But your last page needs to be a straight. So I'm going to have to lose another page. Sorry. But hey-ho, don't matter. Because what you need is you need loose pages for the front and the back. And then just glued pages in the middle. Okay, now put all of your little pile together. Okay, now 2 will be enough to go in there, in that little spine, see? Okay, it'll just be enough, but if you want fuller pages, do another row. I'm happy with that, I'm fine with it, I'm not worried. Okay, so I'm just going to ink that front and the back, and then we're going to glue the front and the back. Another thing you can do is just before you've done is just check they're all fairly even. Another thing you can do is just bang it on the table. If you find that they're uneven, bang it on the table. Okay, to flatten out that spine section. Alright, but I'm going to show you another way as well of flattening out the spine section so that it fits nicely. And then you're going to glue that. Far too much glue on there, Amanda. What are you thinking? Just let me wipe it. You put your pages in there and we're going to glue that to the inside of the front cover. Okay, don't spend ages getting it straight because it's just going to move anyway in a minute. You'll concentrate on getting it straight is the very last thing you do. And then you get the back page and we're going to glue that to the back. Okay, get it more or less straight. Okay, then close your book, give it a press. Okay. Now you might find that those pages move. So another good thing to do, if I can find my, here we go. Don't use a sharp-edged ruler to do this, what I'm about to show you. So go to the middle of the book and gently press it down towards the spine. Separate each page. Even though there's no glue on the spine, it's just helping with the placement. Okay. And then go to the back page and press it into that groove. Okay. And then this is when you want to start and get it fussy about it being straight. Okay. And if you use a good glue, you won't have a problem. Okay. Doesn't have to be perfect. Remember, it's just a mini book. We're not saving lives. Okay. It's just paper. Just paper, people. Okay, and that has attached your little pages to your little book. Now for me, that's enough pages because that is just going to sit on my bookshelf. The pages are really just for authenticity. If you want it fuller, you'd do another strip and add another strip. So that's that done. Right, let me see if my gluey pages are dry yet. Right, so this bundle here is dry now. So I'm going to undo the clip. Okay, well, I'm going to put glue on the inside of the spine. Okay. So this was our complicated method if you've been watching. Okay, so now all of those pages are actually bound together. If you start messing about with them, they will come apart. They're only glued on, but it will work. And now we're adding extra glue. So you're now going to put those on there and you're just literally gluing the whole thing to the spine of your book. Give it a good press from the back, okay? Make sure it's even, top and bottom. Close your book, put it on the deck, press that spine in, okay, with your fingers. Then what you want to do is clip it again and leave it alone to dry. Just leave it and just be patient. It does work because I've been doing this method for years. This is the one that Rachel Dewan taught me. And once all of that, you've then got 2 layers of glue on these little individual pages. They will not come out, okay? It's perfect. Okay, if you start pulling it about too much, then it might, but you're not gonna. Leave it to dry. Okay, so that's 2 versions. So now I'm going to show you the lazy version, and the lazy version is 4 pages. Okay, now you need one of the books with quite a wide spine for this. The ones with the skinny spines, it won't work. So there you go, there's our 4 pages. So I'm going to quickly show you again how to do that one. So I've picked this little book here. It's got quite a wide spine. This is Andersen's Fairy Tales. And what we're going to do here is basically create a little box. All right, so a paper. Now, it's, what did I say it was? 1.5 inch wide there. Okay, so I need to add 1/4 inch each side. So that's 1 and a 1/4 inch each side. So I want it 1 inches. So I'm going to cut myself a strip that's 1 inch wide. Okay, and as long as possible. Yeah, 1 inch wide. Is that right? Yes. Then I'm going to get my scoreboard. I'm going to score 1/4 inch on each side down the length. So 1/4 inch down there. And 1/4 inch down there. Okay, and I'm going to turn it on the long side and work my measurements out. Right, so I need to start with 1/4 inch to attach it to the book. Okay, and then that is 1 1/4. So I've done 1/4 inch. Now I need 1 1/4. okay, which is the length of that. So 1/4 inch plus 1 1/4 is, so 1 1/4, I can't think, is 1 1/2, isn't it? I need an extra 1 1/2, okay. So half is, so I want 1 3/4, because I've already got a 1/4 inch there. I need 1 1/2, yeah, so I need to go to 1 3/4. Because I've got 1/4 inch there, so I need to account for it, or else this will be too short. Then we've got the height, which is 2, okay? So 1 3/4 plus 2 takes us to 2 3/4, 3 3/4. Am I right? Yep, 2 3/4. Yeah, there. Then I want the bottom, which was, we worked out 1 1/2. So 2 3/4 plus 1 1/2. So if I do, did I say 1 1/2 or 1 1/4? No. Yeah, 1 1/4. Right, so my first score wants to be 1 1/4. So we're at 3 3/4. I'm going to add my 1, which takes me to 4 3/4. Then I'm going to add my extra 1/4, which takes me to 5. So that gives me 1 1/4. Then I need a 1/4 inch to attach it. So I'm going to 5 1/4. Trim. Save that. It might fit for another book. Okay. So you're basically measuring that, measuring that, measuring that, and adding 1/4 inch either side and top and bottom to simplify it. Okay. Fold and burnish your score marks. And then if you ink them, it makes it easier for you to see. So I'm going to ink all of mine. All of those score marks, I'm going to ink them. Now this paper here is part of the kit as well, and it looks like loads of letters, and it actually gives a really nice effect because I've tried it and it looks good, and that is part of the kit. So now you're going to need to do some cutting. So what you need to bear in mind before you cut anything is you need, see these 1/4 inch top and bottom, you need as much of that remaining, but you also don't want it to be in the way. So traditional, you'd just cut across the X. But if we cut across the X, because we've got such a small surface area, there's not going to be enough room to glue. So what we're going to do is we're just going to just gently, very gently cut a sliver in like so. And very gently a sliver there. Okay, because you need as much surface area here as you can to glue. Okay, it's not as important on the longer bits because obviously they're longer. So the same here. So I'm just notching ever so slightly, but really not very much at all, just so that it will glue in nice and neat. Okay. And then with these bits here, you're going to need to notch these so that they fold around the corner and tuck in. So fold that in half and cut from the score line out at an angle. And then from the score line out at an angle. Okay? Doesn't matter about the surface area there. There's enough. Same here. From the score line upwards. From the score line upwards. Okay? So you've now got this. So now you'll be able to see what I'm rambling on about, because this is going to attach to the back of your spine. These are going to fold in, that's going to be top. These are going to fold in, that's going to be the side. These are going to fold in, that's going to be the bottom, and that's going to attach to your spine. Okay, so that's what you're looking for, is that kind of a shape. Now I'm just going to check if I fold over like that. Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. Right, so now this is the tricky part, is because it's a little bit fiddler. So what I do is I glue just one end first, okay? And I'm going to lay my book flat, and I'm going to attach that flap central into there, okay? Then I'm just going to fold it over and make sure it's straight and not protruding. Okay. Yeah, and then it's easier if you wait for that bit to dry, because then you've got something anchored down ready. Okay. But what you're essentially going to do is put glue on these flaps, all these flaps. Okay. So let's get gluing, and hopefully it works. Hopefully I've cut it to the right size. If not, I'll just edit my video and I won't tell you. Okay. So this is a cheap method, but it's still fiddly. It doesn't matter which way. The easiest way to make these books is the concertina style. Okay, that is the easiest. But you know, easiest, we don't always have to go for the easy option. And if you have a go at all three, then you're building up your crafty repertoire, and you'll be able to say to yourself, well, I know how to do it, I just choose to do it this way. But I always suggest that you try. I've made it too big. I have made it too big. That score line there's not right. That one's right. That one's right. And the others, the bottom one is wrong. Okay. Okay. So I have measured mine absolutely wrong. Okay. So let's see if we can fix it. So that attaches to there. That's going to go down into there. Get in, you slippery little sucker. And that's going to attach to there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to self-adjust. So I'm going to get my scissors. I'm going to trim that there. I'm just going to make it fit. Hold on a minute. Okay, trim that there. Trim that off. Trim that off. Let me have a look where I should be. Probably just not added up my eighths right, so I'm just going to press it against the edge of my spine. I'm giving myself a little crease, fold it back the other way. Okay, it's no biggie. And glue that on. Okay. Now I can tuck that in there. Get in, you slippery little sucker. And I can attach it. So you've essentially got a little box inside your book cover. Okay, this is probably not the best book cover to do it, because this is the one where I rounded the edges and then decided I didn't like it. Don't round the edges on these book corners, on these book covers, it doesn't work. Okay, so then all you're doing then, okay, it still worked, okay, and I've shown you the principle. And I've shown you that nobody's perfect. And I've also shown you what to do if you get your measurements wrong. Okay, just keep doing what you're doing and just rejig it. It's no biggie. And then that will be a little faux book. Now, again, you're going to need to wait for that to dry. So if you've got some of the larger clips, like this, if you just clip it on, it won't hurt it. Okay, it might squish it a bit, but it'll pop back into place. And or you can just sit there and hold it like this. Okay, and that does work. Okay, mine's probably not the best version, because as you can see, I've rounded the corners on this book. If I hadn't rounded those corners, that would now fit perfect. Okay, so here's the other one that I did. It's absolutely perfect. Okay, so that's the cheap way. A little bit fiddly, but once you've done one, theoretically, it's easy to go and do a load. Like I say, it's because I've rounded those corners that mine's not fitting terribly good. So you've got the authentic version with individual pages. You've got one with the folded concertina style pages. Just to make sure they're not all glued together as well. Okay. And you've got the fake with a little cardboard like box inside. Okay, so there's your three ways. I hope that you've been able to follow along and I've not overcomplicated it. I think I've explained it to the best of my ability. I will be sticking with this method, but I will use this method on ones if I'm going to have them on display. So when I do my bookshelf, like some are just going to go in the shelf like that. So I'll even use this one that's not perfect. It's going to be on the shelf, nobody's going to see it. When they're all lined up, they're going to look ace. But if I want any that are like on a shelf open like that, I'd probably use this version because those look more realistic. Okay, so there you go. Go away. I don't mean go away. I mean go to your craft room. So that one's nearly dry. It's not took very long, and that is another one. And make yourself loads and loads. Okay, we're going to make a bookshelf that's going to, and the shelves are going to be about just over 2 inches high. I'm not sure how many shelves I'm going to do because I'm not sure how many books I get round to making, but that will be the next video. So I hope that's helped. And it was a nice concise tutorial for you. I hope you go and have some fun with these. You really can, as I say, dress them up with some metallic paint or some gilding wax. So go and have some fun. I've waffled on. I'm off to make some more books. Thanks for watching. Take care and I'll see you soon. Bye.